Welcome to the second video. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. This is dealing with chapter 2.1 in the Nahmad and Haywood book, A New Arabic Grammar. Here they begin to talk about indefinite nouns. The Arabic equivalent of the term indefinite is nakira, or nakiratun, if you pronounce the end. An indefinite noun, in order to understand what is an indefinite noun, the first thing to remember, it is a property of a noun. Remember, Arabic words can be divided into nouns, verbs, and particles. Nouns, or asma, or the singular ism, have the property of being definite or indefinite. But what do we mean by definite or indefinite? Consider the word boy. And let's look at two people talking to each other. Here's one person, probably a teacher, speaking to another teacher. And he says, well, there's a boy who is misbehaving. Or he's just talking about a boy in general. So I've tried to illustrate that by just having boys who all look the same. And there's nothing particular about a boy, but he's talking about a single boy. But what happens about a teacher who's talking to another teacher? And he means the boy. And he has a very specific idea as to who he's talking about. Well, in this case, when the speaker has a specific idea, we say the word boy is used with the definite article in English. Article simply means a little word, the boy. Whereas when he's not talking about any boy in particular, he uses the word a boy. Now in Arabic, we don't use the and a to make boy definite or indefinite. Instead, it has a different way of doing it. Here are some examples of a word which is indefinite. Let's take the first word. Baytun, a house. Rajulun, a man. There's no separate word for a in Arabic. If we want to convert the word boy into something definite, we add alif lam, al. So let's take a couple of examples here. So, a boy. I saw a boy. Ra'aytu waladan. And if you look, it's exactly, there's no al, or there's no equivalent of a. The word walad is waw lam dal, waladan. Whereas if I use to say the boy, I would say I saw the boy. Ra'aytu al-walada. Now I've added alif and lam at the beginning to make this word, which is waladan, indefinite, into a definite word. So we can conclude here a couple of things. That if we don't have the alif lam, a noun in general is always indefinite. We can always put a boy. And if we have alif lam, in general, a noun is definite, so we could translate it as the. Right, what is this doubled vowel called at the end of a noun? In Arabic, it's called tanween. In English, nunation. So that means if you have a double dhamma, double fatha, or double kasra, we call that doubling tanween. If you want to say two dhammas, the proper way of saying it in Arabic is dhammatain, and two fathas, fathatan, and two kasras, kasratan. As you can see, the word walad is waw, lam, and dal. Waw, lam, and dal. Waw, lam, and dal. So what is this alif doing here? Well, here's the explanation. Why is there an alif? When we end a word, a noun, with a double fatha, fathatan, we put an alif at the end as a spelling convention. It is not read. There is an exception to this rule, and that is, one of the exceptions, is when a word ends in a ta marbuta. It's a ta which is tied. When it has two fathas, we don't put an alif at the end. So this is the word imra'atun, lady, imra'atun, a lady, imra'atin, a lady. Other examples are shajaratun, shajaratan, sorry, a tree, sayyaratan, a car. So if you look in all of these, that alif is missing. But if we take the example of the man, a man, rajulun, but if it has two fathas, rajulan, it has that alif. Rajulin, if it's got two kasras. The important thing to remember here, here's an NB point, that the word waladun, waladan, and waladin all mean the same thing. They all mean a boy, a boy, a boy. There is no difference. So the final vowel in this particular type of word does not change the meaning. The same applies here. Rajulun, a man. Rajulan, a man. Rajulin, a man. Imra'atun, a lady. Imra'atan, a lady. Imra'atin, a lady. The same applies to these words. Shajaratun, shajaratan, shajaratin, a tree, a tree, a tree. Sayaratun, sayaratan, sayaratin, a car, a car, a car. So, to very briefly summarize, in this chapter, in this point, we've very briefly covered the meaning of a definite versus indefinite noun. And we find that if a noun doesn't have alif lam, it is indefinite. And if it has alif lam, it is definite. One last thing I want to point out here is in this middle sentence. Sometimes in English we use nouns without a and without the, and that tends to be with the plural, boys. So boys are not men, for example. In Arabic we don't have a noun without an a or a the, because if it doesn't have the, it always is translated as a. So how would you translate these words? They tend to have an alif lam with them. So sometimes you would not always translate al-walad as the boy. It can sometimes be translated as the boys, i.e. referring to boys in general. Al-walad laysa rajulan. The boy is not a man. In other words, boys in general are not men. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.